Shadow Slave. By Guiltythree. Chapter 12:11, Until Dawn. The harrowing battle was still raging all around them, and Sunny struggled to suppress the feeling of primordial terror that threatened to overwhelm his reason. Thinking back to their mad dash across the dark battlefield, he felt his hands tremble. How the hell did they survive? He winced, and pushed the fear to the side. There was no time to be afraid. Glancing at Jet and Seishin, Sunny nodded silently, and took a step toward the ruin. No matter what awaited them inside, they couldn't remain in the open. The ancient structure was in a sorry state. It had withstood thousands of years of heat and wind, but was nearly destroyed by whatever it was that had transpired here minutes ago. The spherical dome was ruptured, and stone shards lay on the white sand, some covered in dancing flames. It was as though a powerful explosion had wrecked it from within, spreading fire and debris all around. A few chunks of broken stone were large and heavy enough to crush an armored vehicle. Sunny extended his shadow sense as far as he could, but the black walls of the ruined structure were somehow blocking it. Followed by Jet and Seishin, he carefully approached the hole in the dome's wrecked wall, lingered for a moment, and jumped inside. The first thing that met them was the stench of burned flesh. The ruin was much smaller than the one they had sheltered in before, and from the looks of it, there was no path to the underground portion of the structure. There was only this one spherical chamber, with its floor partially buried under the sand. A blackened corpse lay in the middle of the round hall. It seemed human, but it was impossible to tell who that human had been. The corpse was burned too badly, and all its features were destroyed by the flame. There was someone else in the chamber, too. Sunny cursed and dashed forward, appearing near the motionless figure a split second later. Nephi's was laying on the black stones, her armor almost destroyed, with her eyes closed. Wisps of white fire were escaping from the terrible wounds covering her body, and in the bleak light, her face looked pale and vulnerable. No, no, no. A moment later, a relieved sigh escaped from his lips. She was alive, just unconscious. The wounds were already healing, too. Just in these few short seconds, their edges had already grown closer. Jet and Seishin slowly approached. Soul Reaper kneeled, studying the charred corpse. After a while, Sunny forced himself to turn away from Nef and asked, "Who is it? Can you tell?" Jet hesitated, then shook her head. "No, the body is too damaged. However, it gives me the creeps." The three of them remained silent for a few moments, wondering what had happened here. Had Nephi's fought with another survivor? Or had there been another creature like Ascended Su? Both possibilities were a little unnerving. Eventually, Sunny shook his head. "It doesn't matter. We need to destroy this corpse. Otherwise, there's a chance that it will rise and start talking to us again." There were no objections. After disposing of the corpse, the three of them gathered around the unconscious Nephi's and sat in tense silence, waiting for dawn with terror gripping their hearts. In the morning, the sounds of the battle grew quiet. Sunny, who had not closed his eyes or allowed himself to relax for a single moment, sent one of his shadows to take a look outside. He was utterly exhausted. Usually, an Ascended could go a long time without needing to rest, and Sunny had the benefit of wearing the Shroud of Dusk, as well. But in the past 24 hours, he had participated in a viciously intense battle, fought a saint, traversed countless kilometers of the Nightmare Desert, and even survived the ruinous clash of the dead armies. Not to mention facing the harrowing creature that wore the corpse of Master Su. Sunny was tired. Outside, the desert was tranquil and pristine. The white dunes stretched as far as the eye could see, and there was no sign of the terrible forces that had fought across this hellish place just hours before. The sand had swallowed everything. It had been terribly cold in the desert during the night, but now that the sun had appeared above the horizon, the unbearable heat was coming back. He let out a hoarse sigh. They're gone. The skeletal warriors were gone, but what about Master Su? Had the creature followed them into the battlefield and got destroyed, or had it waited inside the ruin patiently, waiting for the sun to rise? Was it coming for them now? Sunny did not know. Jet and Seishin were sitting back to back, while he was a couple steps away. Nef's head rested on his knees. Summoning the endless spring, Sunny brought the beautiful glass bottle to her lips and poured out a little bit of water. As it flowed into her mouth, Nephi stirred a little, and then coughed. Her eyes opened, and she stared at him from below, slightly confused. A slight smile appeared on Sunny's face. You're awake. Take it slow. Nephi's flinched, then sat up and grabbed the endless spring. She drank from it greedily, and then looked at Sunny. White sparks danced in her eyes, as if agitated. How are you here? He shrugged. I told you that I would see you on the other side. Sunny lingered for a few moments and scoffed. What? Don't look at me like that. To be honest, we saw the light of your flames from afar, and rushed here, hoping to find shelter. If not for that, we'd be dead for sure. Nephi's glanced at Jet and Seishan. A small frown appeared on her face. Then, she suddenly shuddered and turned around, staring at the spot where the charred corpse had been before. Seishan finally spoke. We got rid of it. We have encountered a creature that can possess corpses. So, keeping a dead body with us did not seem safe. Nephi shivered. Yes. I have encountered such a creature, too. Sunny remained silent for a while, wondering how was it that she had managed to kill the damn thing. Did it have something to do with her ascended ability, longing? Or the nature of her aspect in general? The dead of the Nightmare Desert seemed unwilling to approach the white flames, too. More importantly, was there more than one creature like the one they had fought? Or was it a creature capable of inhabiting multiple vessels at the same time? His expression was grim. Do you know what that thing was? Nephi's hesitated for a few moments, then nodded. I'm not sure. But I think I do. She grimaced, looked at her ruined armor, and raised one trembling hand. There were 3 nightmare gates, but only 2 gate guardians entered the waking world. The third. I think that it stayed behind in the dream realm. Nephi's grew quiet for a bit, and then added, to hunt us. Chapter 12:12, Pursuer. There was not much time to talk. If the guardian of a Category 4 gate was really on their trail, then they needed to run. Even if Nephi's was wrong, the creature they had met was immeasurably strong. Considering its power and frightening level of intelligence, it had to be a great devil, at least. It was much more likely to be a tyrant, or something even more terrifying. Sunny had killed a great devil once. But that was not a real kill. The spawn of the vile thieving bird had been unborn, and weakened by thousands of years of neglect in the branches of the soul-devouring tree. More than that, Sunny had only survived that encounter because of his unique soul composition. Only after meeting an actual great nightmare creature did he realize how harrowing these beings truly were. The thing pretending to be Ascended Su was not even the real body of the abomination. Most likely, it was simply one of its manifestations. But it had already been strong enough to shrug off all their attacks, severely wound Saint, and destroy a transcendent echo in mere seconds. N.1n. As for whether it was the Gate Guardian. Logically speaking, that was impossible. Nightmare creatures were compelled by the seeds, unable to refuse their call. All they could do was be drawn by it and invade the waking world. However, Sunny had already seen that the great abominations were not as beholden to the rule of the spell as the lesser creatures. One of them had actually used its power to forcefully widen the Nightmare Gate. If one of the Gate Guardians was capable of that, who was to say that a different one couldn't stay back to slaughter those humans who would flee to the dream realm? Hurry. We need to hurry. Mere minutes after Nephi's regained consciousness, the 4 of them abandoned the ruined stone dome and ventured into the desert. For now, their destination was simple. They were fleeing in the direction opposite of where Master Su had been seen last, as fast as they could. As the 4 exhausted masters fled across the desert, they learned about what had happened to Neph. She had left the waking world soon after Sunny, and was drawn into the Nightmare Desert like the rest of them. Nephi's fought against several nightmare creatures and eventually found another human, one of the Valor Ascended. Together, they sought and found a shelter to survive the approaching night. There was something strange about that Ascended, though. When she offered to heal his wounds, the men refused. His excuse was that she should save her essence for when they find more people. But Nephi's felt that he wanted to avoid touching her flames, which put her on guard. It was only after the dead rose from the sand that the Ascended attacked her. The strangest thing was that I don't think he wanted to kill me. Sunny, Jet, and Seishan looked at her with confusion. Nephi's frowned. It was more like he wanted to spread into me. Her mouth twitched in revulsion. But nothing happened as a result. The creature seemed surprised, and that gave me a chance to unleash all my flames. I guess desperation fueled them with enough strength to burn it. Then, I woke up with the three of you around me. Sunny was suffering from the terrible heat, but at the same time, he felt cold. Was it trying to corrupt Neff? Humans did not know much about the corruption. They just attributed the vile nature of the nightmare creatures to the spell. But, really, the corruption had existed long before Weaver created the spell. In fact, the ancient people had not used the term nightmare creatures. Instead, they had simply called those creatures consumed by the vile darkness the corrupted. Gods and demons had fought against the unknown in ancient times, and then, awakened, fought against the corrupted during the Age of Heroes. Creatures were not the only ones who could be corrupted, either. Humans could succumb to the corruption, as well. That is troubling. There was something that troubled Sunny much more, though. Both Master Su and the Ascended that had attacked Nephi's were strangely insistent on one thing: finding more humans. So, could it be that the four of them had not really escaped the pursuit of the creature? Could it be that it was letting them live in hopes that they would lead it to more survivors? Suddenly, Sunny felt a shiver run down his spine. He looked around, taking in the immaculately white landscape of the desert, almost expecting to see a dark figure to be following them from afar. But, of course, if the corpse of Master Su was indeed following them, it would not allow itself to be seen. Sunny did see something else, though. There, in the vast azure sky. Why was there a black dot there? He stopped and looked up, gesturing for the others to prepare. There were still abominations traversing the desert on their way to the nightmare seeds, even if there were fewer of them than there had been yesterday. Some of them were of the winged variety, too. However, those creatures flew straight toward the seeds, not paying attention to anything else. The black dot, however, was moving in the wrong direction. It was barreling straight at them. Sunny, Nephi's, Jet, and Seishin raised their weapons, ready to face the worst. Less than a minute later, the dark figure fell from the sky and landed just a few meters away from them, raising a cloud of sand into the air. Ivory armor. Auburn hair. An infuriatingly handsome face. And magnetic green eyes that were shining with relief and concern. Sunny blinked a couple of times. Kai. His friend let out a long sigh and wiped the sweat off his brow. Then, he smiled brightly, making Nephi's, Seishin, and even Jet blush a little. Thank the gods. I found you.